Hey, what's up? This is Vinny Melkus, back with you for the second installment of, Introduction to Firearms, the Beginner's Guide to Firearms. And if you are not a beginner, you might not get much out of this video. You might, it might be a good refresher of some things. I don't know. But last time I went over some nomenclature of a handgun, just so you don't look like a jackass when you go to purchase your first firearm, when you go in the store or whatnot. And there's a lot of you out there that are just getting into firearm ownership or shooting sports, or just personal protection, or sometimes it's just an asset. The political climate we're in, what's going on in the country, and if you're watching this video and you see the date, what is going on in the nation right now? I mean, there's a lot of people that are new into the firearms game. So like I said, first video went over nomenclature so you don't look like a jackass when you go in there. So you have a little bit of an idea of what you're, a little bit of background knowledge when you go in there to look at your first firearm. So this one is about safety rules. So like I said in the last video, my background, I was a Marine, I was enlisted in, I was an officer. So I was enlisted for 5 years, got out, came back in as through OCS, an officer, got out as a captain. Before that, I was in the firearms as well, did a lot of hunting, and a lot of just sport shooting. So I grew up around firearms. I know what I'm doing, and I enjoy it. It's fun. I don't get to do it as much as I'd like to. I'm in the fishing stuff a lot, so whenever I get a chance, I like to go hunting or shoot. But anyway, let's get to it because this video is already almost 2 minutes in. So in the Marine Corps, we teach 4 main safety rules. Actually, there's a 5th one, but the acronym or the way to remember these things is 4, because that's the 4 basic ones. And they go treat, never, keep, keep. And the first one, and is the most important in my mind, is treat every weapon as if it were loaded. So like I said in the last video, whenever you transfer a firearm or whatnot, you remove the source of ammunition, you lock this baby back, you check in the bore, you feel it, you hand it off, and even then, you hand it off in a safe manner. Even then, this weapon is still loaded, and you got to treat it as if it is at all times. Doing things repetitively builds that repetition, and it builds that muscle memory, and this is one of those. Every time you have a weapon or are in possession of one, it is loaded. I don't care if it's not loaded. I don't care if you checked it so many times. I don't care if there's a damn stick in there or whatever you put in there, the little red bullet things that keep the chamber open. It's always loaded, and you got to treat it that way. Because the one time you don't, that's when something happens. And when something happens with a firearm, it's like unlike anything other accident. You don't come. A lot of times you don't come back from that. So it's a finite. It's a permanent solution or a permanent mistake. Not solution. Sometimes it is a solution, but no, permanent mistake. Anyway, so treat every weapon as if it were loaded. I don't care if it's a BB gun. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's a damn rubber band gun. It's loaded. Second one, never point a weapon at anything you do not intend to shoot. That's another one. So when you're at the store or whatnot, like I was telling you, when you're trying to feel if this weapon is, it sits in your hand right, or you're just feeling it out, even there, you point it in a safe manner toward the wall or a 45-degree angle up or down, away from somebody that can't walk in your line of sight. Whenever you have the weapon, you're always cognizant of where that muzzle is and where it's pointing and what's in that line of sight. And because once you have a bullet in chamber too, there's always negligent. If you look at some of the police stuff, there's negligent discharge. They call them, whatever, NDs, all the time, especially when your blood is pumping. So you want to make sure that you control that muzzle and you know where it is at all times. Like I said, these mistakes are, oftentimes they can be fatal, and it's the worst kind of mistake to have, is to have take someone's life that you didn't intend to. All right, now we're into the keep. So this is another important one, and this is built with repetition. It's keep your fingers straight and off the trigger until you are ready to fire. So you notice when I'm holding this weapon, this handgun, my finger's always, running along parallel with the barrel. It's off the trigger, and I always do that. And that's just so you don't accidentally squeeze one off. In reality, it's just a good way of doing things, just so you don't have an accident. These are all intended, so you don't have accidents, and you have to do it each and every time so that something doesn't happen. Especially if you're new, you need to start being cognizant of everything you do when you're handling firearm. So, finger straight off the trigger until you are ready to fire. Until you're ready to throw a round downrange, that thing is not touching that trigger. Anyway, so now we're on the last keep. Keep the weapon on safe until you're ready to fire. Of course, if you have a safety mechanism on your firearm, whether it be handgun or rifle, that thing is on safe until you are ready to fire. And I don't care where, I don't care if you're in a bad neighborhood or where, you keep that on safe until you're ready. You need to practice, taking it off. The worst thing to do, like I keep saying, is having mistakes. So you need to practice. You need to have that muscle memory to flick that switch or to do whatever you need to do when you have to engage a target. But until then, you keep that weapon on safe until you're in some kind of situation where it can't be. But keep it on safe. The last one that is that's important as well, especially in urban environments or just anywhere, is know your target, know what you're shooting at when you're shooting, and know what is beyond it. There's a lot of times that bullets, we miss targets, or the bullet goes through a target, or if you're have an assailant in the house and you shoot them and that bullet goes through them, you need to know what's behind. You need to know what's behind because there's a chance you might hit it. So know your target and know what lies beyond it. So basically a lot of this is just being aware of your current situation, being aware that you're handling. It's a tool. I call it a weapon, but yeah, it is a tool. And this tool can be used for fun, it can be used for self-defense, and it can be absolutely deadly when not given the proper respect. So those are the basic firearm rules. So treat every weapon as if they're loaded. Never point your weapon at anything you do not intend to shoot. Keep your finger straight off the trigger until you're ready to fire. Keep your weapon on safe until you intend to fire. And then know your target and what lies beyond that. So the next video we'll go over in this little series is probably some nomenclature of rifles and go over some of the rifle types, whether it be a bolt action or semi-auto, and then some beginner's rifles, especially if you want to get like your kid in the fire. There's some cool rifles, little 22s that are good for that. But that's the basic firearm rules. And then, like I said, the last one is nomenclature, and then this next one I'll do a little bit more nomenclature on some rifles and introduce you to that. And then we'll go into some of the fundamentals of shooting. That way, even if you don't have a lot of anybody to really show you, you can apply those and hopefully be able to throw rounds downrange accurately and discriminately. So stay tuned. I got more fishing stuff. I got a big announcement, if you're still here watching, a rebranding of this channel, a rebranding of me for 2021. It's going to be pretty awesome. I got a logo that's coming out, and we're going to blast it off, and it kind of goes along the lines of the way I live life. That's why I'm changing it up, and we're going full bore, especially 2021 season, tournament season for fishing. It's going to be, lit. It's going to be epic. So anyway, stay tuned.